Our first special right triangle is going to be what we call the 45, 45, 90. It's that named that because the angles inside are 45, 45, and 90. Okay, so you just learned in 1C how you can find the sides of a right triangle when I know two sides using the Pythagorean theorem. On these types of triangles, often we're given just one side, and then from there we have to figure out what the other two are. Okay, you'll also find in level 2, you'll also find some other ways to find some of those sides and angles. But we're going to focus just on this lesson on 45, 45, 90. On a triangle like this, it's called an isosceles right triangle. The two angles are equal. Then the two sides are also going to be, the two legs are also going to be equal, and we'll identify those as x. So if you know one, you know the other, they're always going to be the same. The hypotenuse over here is always going to be in the ratio x times the square root of 2. Okay, so here, the leg is always going to be x, and the hypotenuse is always going to be x square root of 2. All right? And we get that using Pythagorean theorem using x and x. So x squared root of 2 is identified as the hypotenuse. X is going to be what the two legs are. So let's go down and do a couple examples here. So sometimes the x in our little formulas up here get confused with your x's and y's down here. So I would kind of ignore those right now and just focus on what you have. So usually I just do this. I write my two little equations up here, knowing that x is the leg. So when I look at this picture, is 8 a leg or hypotenuse? Well, it is a leg because it's attached here to the 90. So 8 is the leg. That's always going to be x. If x is 8, this is going to be 8 square root of 2. So when I put that on my picture, again, be careful with these x's and these x's. I know this is the leg. So that means this 8 and this 8 are the same. And the hypotenuse, which is this one, is going to be 8 square root of 2. So when you come over here, then you can identify your x and your y. Okay, let's go to the second one. And if you have to, maybe do this in front so you can keep things straight. X is their leg, and x square root of 2 is your hypotenuse. When I look at my picture here, the x and here are my two legs, and maybe even want to do this to keep them separate from everything else. 24 is my hypotenuse, so I know this is going to equal 24. Now this goes back to the equations that we just got done doing. So I need to get in front of this x, I need to get a 1. So how do I how do I make a square root of 2 into 1? I multiply by square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 over 2. When I do that, those cancel out, and I have my 1x. The 24 and the 2 are like terms. I can divide them out. Put the square root of 2 along with it. So x, which is my leg, is going to equal 12 square root of 2. So when I come over here, my legs are 12 square root of 2, 12 square root of 2, 2, and then I can identify my x and y in my answers. On the last example here, I'm just going to kind of go through the same process, maybe start abbreviating just a little bit. My leg and my hypotenuse. Leg is always x. Hypotenuse is always that times square root of 2. When I look at my picture, I can see that these are my two legs. And this is my hypotenuse. So the leg is, x is 4 square root of 2. I'm going to get the hypotenuse by taking, in place of x, I'm going to put 4 square root of 2. I'm just going to substitute that in right there, times the square root of 2, which is this piece right here. And then I'm going to multiply that. 4 times square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. So that would be 8. So the hypotenuse is 8, and both legs are 4 square root of 2. So now this unit is divided into two parts. Part 1 is on the 45. So your next page in your booklet is going to be practicing the 45s. Please make sure after you're done practicing that you go correct them, and then come back for part 2 of notes of our second special.